Today I want to bring you guys another ship build. This is the ship I named the Wendigo. Its concept was super sleek, super fast, super maneuverable Class A fighter, and I wanted something different. Originally it was supposed to be a very small and compact fighter, and it, for the most part, really is, as it only has 3 HAB modules in the cockpit. It uses the fastest engines that I've seen in the game anyway. The White Dwarf, well, we'll get to the builder and I'll show you exactly which ones, but they have a top speed of 180. I do have footage of the ship in combat. I'll talk about that in a minute. So with a mobility of 97, and again, you'll see this in the ship builder when I get there, with a mobility of 97, a top speed of 180, it's Class A, it has enough reactor power to power everything. I'll show you the weapons as well, and we'll talk about that. It's a really maneuverable, really fast ship. I will show you inside, and we'll do some takeoff and landing, and of course I'll show you some incredible combat, which was like 12v1 on this ship. I'll say something about that now. I was at the Deimos Star Yard where I attached that cockpit up there. Again, I'll show all of the parts that are on it in the builder. I was at the Deimos Star Yard, and a whole fleet of UC SSNN ships started attacking the Deimos Star Yard. Now, I looked it up online. It's not unusual to see NPC ships attacking the Star Yard. Well, I joined at the fight and went about 12v1 against all of the UC ships. And, well, you'll see in the footage, this ship handled itself extremely well. Anyway, that was just kind of a funny little Easter egg, and I'm glad I recorded it. It's some random bug that happens where NPC ships can start attacking the shipyard. Anyway, so you've seen around the ship here, it's a really sleek looking ship. I was worried the cockpit might look too big on it, but as it turns out, I don't think that it does. It looks, it's got this really low, sleek look that I like. And one thing I was going for, so this is kind of a luxury ship. It really is. When you see the inside, let's see, all 3 HAB modules are living areas, actually. They're all living areas for passenger space and just for luxurious comfort, because the cockpit alone gives it 8 crew stations. So let's go ahead and have a look inside of it. Now, the landing bay is in the back. I tried having the landing bay in front. I also tried putting a 4 docker on it, as it would take either easily, but it just looks better with the Hopetech bumper on the front. So I've got to run around to the rear to board the ship, and let's have a look inside. So yeah, I have the slim bottom docker. Again, I tried a 4 docker out. It looks better with a Hopetech bumper on the front. So yeah, it's very luxurious on the inside. Yeah, because of the 8 crew stations in the cockpit, allows you to just have a living area down here. And one thing about this ship is I wanted it to be a sleek fighter, but one thing I also love, I love getting up in my ship out in space, and I love looking out the windows and seeing things, and I like a high visibility ship, and this is definitely high visibility when we get up to the second deck. So when you come into the ship, we have the landing bay right here in the rear, and then this is one convenient part about having the docker where I have it. You have the docker here and the one ladder in the ship right here. So it's all of the entry stuff is just right here in one spot in the ship. Very handy, and this is all very easy to do because the way the modules are connected, this is the only possible place for the ladder because the cockpit starts right up there. So this is the only possible place the ladder can go. So there's no way that the game can screw you over and make weird entrances because there's only 3 HAB modules. They'll only connect in one way as well. So you come in into this all-in-one. It's an all-in-one B module, and I'll show you that in the builder. And then on the 4 of the first deck, we have a living area. So it's very luxurious, lots of passenger room. Going up, we have the viewing deck. It's kind of an aft viewing deck. On the aft side of the captain's quarters. I'll show you that. And then we have the cockpit. So it's a very high visibility ship because I do like to kind of camp out in space, you could say. I like to get out there, and I like to get out of the cockpit seat and kind of roam around the ship, and I like to look out the windows. Well, here we have the captain's quarters just aft of the cockpit. So the top deck is really nice because you have the high visibility cockpit, and you come right back here to the captain's quarters with our comfy little bed here. And then, yeah, it's really high visibility out here. I like landing on planets and seeing what's out here, pretending like I'm in the ship, and then, of course, I have my bed right there. And then up here we have the cockpit. So there's kind of a tour of the Wendigo on the inside. I think there's a lot of things that were hit really well with this. It is really sleek, fast, luxurious, and it fights really well too. Let's have a look at it. Actually, let's go ahead and take off in it and show you some flight in it before I go to the builder and start tearing it apart. And I'll show you all the parts that make it up, of course. But I know that I want to show the takeoff and landing of it. Alright, so let's sit in the cockpit here and take off. and I'll show you a bit how the ship looks in space. So you can see the, we'll see the power bars here in a second. Got a lot of engines in the back. Well, we got 4 of the White Dwarf engines, and then the I think it's Tayo landing gear that I use. Also, kind of looks like engines in the back. All right, so here we are in space. The debris is flying around a little crazy. Don't mind that. All right, so you can see that this thing can accelerate really fast, of course, with a high top speed, and this thing will get to about 700 under thrust, I believe. Really, really fast. Yeah, a little over 700, and it can maneuver. It can turn on a dime. Again, very high mobility. Let's have a look at the ship out here. It's a nice, sleek looking ship. The front landing gear gives it kind of a low, muscular, wide look, I think. Alright, so let's go ahead and land back down here and check it out in the builder. While I'm landing here on the planet, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the attack footage I have now. So this right here, as I said, it was about 12 or so SSNN ships, sloops, started attacking the Deimos Star Yard. I watched them for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I decided to go ahead and join in the fight, and nothing happened. I didn't get a bounty or anything. I was able to destroy all the ships. The ship maintained all its integrity. I had to repair it a couple times, but I did have about 12 ships attacking me at once. Nevertheless, the ship did survive. And after looting the ships, they had so much salvage on them. I walked away with about 1,000 kilograms of just salvage alone and about 30,000 credits just looting all of the ships. It was kind of a weird, crazy thing, but you can see the ship handled itself very well. It could outmaneuver pretty much any ship there is, because it's only a Class A, very fast, highly maneuverable. Without further delay, let's go ahead and check it out in the ship builder here. Alright, let's have a look at what goes into all of this. Okay, so here it is all apart, and you can see that the Wendigo is actually a pretty simple ship. It's very basic. I mean, it's not a very massive ship, of course not. It's a Class A ship, and with its high mobility, there's just not much to it. It looks a lot more... I mean, it has kind of a low muscular look to it. It looks like it's made up of a lot of stuff. It's really kind of not. So, starting off with the landing bay, it's a Tayo landing bay. Now, this was built at my outpost here. Pretty much everything here can be bought from your outpost, with the exception of one of the storage units and the cockpit. You can pretty much build this all at your shipbuilder, your outpost. So, Tayo landing bay, and I just flipped it around so it docks from the rear. And then we only have, again, 3 halves here. Right here. And you can use whichever ones you want. The Nova has this really cool, kind of gritty, retro-futuristic 20th century look, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, kind of looks like, it looks a lot like interiors of ships that we would imagine from the days of the space shuttle. And that's why I like the Nova. So anyway, I'm using the all-in-one berth B right here. And then in the front, I showed you from the inside, I have... Oh, actually, they're both all-in-one berths. I thought one was a living quarters. So one is a B, one is an A. Mostly just because I wanted to see what they look like. We have crew stations in the cockpit. So again, the inside is all luxury. So A and B, all-in-one berths. And then up here is the captain's quarters. Now, because of the way it's connected, the reason, I said earlier the ladder has to be where it's at. It's because the cockpit connects here, where the little arrow is. Cockpit connects there. And so the only place the ladder can be is right here. So go ahead and I put this... Deimos Slim Docker right below it, and that lines everything up right there. So just that one ladder leaves as much of the furniture intact as possible. So these are the 3 halves, the bay and the docker, just all right here. And the cockpit, which you can get from the Deimos Star Yard orbiting Mars, just snaps in right there like so. And the concept for this was, a sleek, muscular-looking ship flanked by the engines. When I saw that I'd have to use 4 of these engines, it was a lot of engines all grouped together, and the way the look for this ship came about was putting all 4 of these engines on one fuselage looked like quite a bit. And so I've split it off into little side runners alongside the ship, and that's how that came about. All right, coming around to the landing gear, we have Tayo landing gear. I never thought this landing gear in particular looked good on anything. I never found... It just looks ugly on ships the way it sticks out. But here, it gives it kind of a low, muscular look, almost like the hood of a Dodge Viper or something. Yeah, it kind of has that kind of look to it. This landing gear actually looks good here. We have 4 of these. We have 2 of the front. Of course, you can just take these and flip them, So here we have 2 of the front pieces, And then back here, attached, flanking the landing bay, we have the other two. Just right here, like so. Now, directly in front of the aft landing gear, let's go ahead and... actually, let's not talk about storage just yet. Let's talk about the core parts of the ship. The reactor and the grav drive, which are what attaches the wings, if you want to call them that, to the ship. So right here we have the reactor. Now, a lot of this stuff requires high level and ship design skill to get on here, but then again, this is a Class A ship that performs way up there with a lot of reactor power. So we have this Spheromac DC-202 reactor, puts out 33 power, so it's a pretty high-end reactor. It's Class A. I could have put just because the engines are Class A, because I wanted these particular engines, didn't mean I had to use a Class A reactor, but I wanted to keep the mass low and the mobility high, so a lightweight Class A reactor was what I used, this one right here. The grav drive, we have the best Class A grav drive I could get, the R4000 Alpha grav drive. Well, actually, it's not the best I could get. I apologize for that. It's not the best I could get. I can't put it in there just yet. Something's in the way. It's not the best I could get. What I should say is it was the grav drive that got me. I wanted a 30 light year jump range. Nothing beyond that matters, right? All I cared about was getting 30 light year jump range. I wanted the lowest mass grav drive I could with the most thrust. So this is the one that I chose because I was trying to keep the mobility up. In fact, the mobility was 100 until I swapped in this cockpit. But still, 97 mobility is pretty darn good. All right, so with the grav drive and the reactor, I used these little fuel tanks here. Now, these each have 160 fuels. That's 320 overall, and that's, as far as I can see, enough to get pretty much anywhere in the galaxy. I can't say that, or the settled systems, I should say. I don't think I've ever done a run where I ran out of fuel, so that appears to be enough. Also, fuel tanks add so much to your mass, and I did not want to decrease the mobility anymore. I guess now we can go ahead and talk about the storage. So I have two of these, which you can get from your shipbuilder at your outpost. Two of these Galleon S201 cargo holds. And they go right here in front of the rear landing gear. So that one, so there's two of those, and that one goes on that side. And then one extra storage unit just because I wanted it to have over 2,000 storage, so that buffed with skills, basically, with skills, it'd be, what is it, 3,000 something, 3,900, I forget exactly, but with their skills, it'll be well over 3,000. I think it's around 3,900 or something. That's enough, and it's a tricky balance between I wanted a lot of storage, but I also want high mobility, really high mobility. So I think we've got that. That said, there's no shielded storage on here. There's no shielded cargo holds or scan jammer. But again, just trying to keep the mobility high. And for shields, I have this shield, which I think is the best Class A shield, the 860 shield. The deflector SG60 shield generator. I used the best parts wherever I could. Now, the engines I spoke of, they're right here, and we'll mount those in a minute, but these are the White Dwarf 3015 engines. They're not the best White Dwarf engines, but they're the fastest, and if you scroll through, they're right here, and they have top speed of 180, so they are available here. But they're not the best, but they're the fastest. All right, so moving on to what actually creates the wings. I used... and then we'll put the engines on there. Let's go ahead and put this. All right, so the tailpiece on the fuselage is Deimos cowling 4, and the Deimos tail A. Right there. Moving on to the little wing pieces here. They attach to the reactor and the grav drive with this Stroud landing gear. Simple, very handsome landing gear. On the 4 of these, we have Nova weapon mounts, and we'll talk about the weapons here in a minute. All right. Oh, longs are right here at the front. Yeah, Hope Tech bumper just looks good on there, I think. This is all pretty easy. And then here we have 2 Nova cowlings right here on the sides. And the engines. Yeah, the engines I already showed you. Just attach right back there. And these are Deimos Spine A4. Yeah, they make good little cover pieces to go over the engines, I think. There we go. So there's the Wendigo all put back together. Now, as far as weapons, got to use Class A weapons, of course. Now, I've read all about weapons, looked at spreadsheets for DPS, all the min-maxing stuff, and really the conclusion I've come to is, and I've also done a lot of ship combat, weapons really don't matter. Ship combat is easy. You see this ship in the footage earlier, easily fought off about 12 or so ships. Ship combat is easy in this game. Anyone who knows a lot about weapons knows well, a lot about weapons, and they also know that it really doesn't matter. So just pick whatever looks good. Here's what I have. I have 2 of these right here, 2 of these pulse lasers. You can go ahead and see the name of it right there. It's a long name, but I don't want to read it off. And then I have 2 of these ballistic guns. Yeah, I chose to do lasers and ballistic. You can choose really whatever you want. I chose 2 of these autocannons. Basically, they're very fast firing. I could put more on there. The thing with running weapons is, yeah, you can run more and just not power them up all the way, etc. I have, thanks to your guys' comments, I've learned a lot about weapons, and this is fine enough right here. I can add more weapons, but it would just lose more mobility, and this is plenty enough. And then I have an EM weapon right here in case I want to disable ships. This, of course, just makes it easier to disable ships. All right, so there's your look at this beautiful, luxurious, sleek, highly mobile Class A fighter. I wanted to build a Class A ship because I wanted an excuse to use the White Dwarf engines. I've never used them. I spent a lot of time making Class C ships that were really huge, and I think a lot of people do that, make really huge, elaborate ships. But I wanted to step back and make a Class A ship that was just, well, classy and luxurious. I wondered to myself, could I make something that was all these things in one? That was able to carry just the base storage that I require to pirate and loot out in space, that had luxurious inside and great viewing, great views for outside, was maneuverable and fast and could fight. And yeah, we got it right here in this ship. Yeah, there was one more thing that I haven't put on this ship that, as I was kind of going through it, I caught. I haven't put the parts from the Crimson Fleet on there. The, what are they? The darn comm spike and that data bank or whatever it is. I would like to fit those on here. They could lower the mobility even more, but I'm running without the shielded cargo. I really don't want to lose the mobility because shielded cargo takes, it's so heavy. I don't think I need it. If you go to the right, if you know where to go, you don't need to smuggle cargo. But I might go to the Crimson Fleet and pick up the custom parts there to further increase shield regen and target acquisition, the things that those pieces do. I just wanted to add that as a side note because that's something, since I've done the Crimson Fleet storyline, I've been putting those parts on my ships. Yeah, so leave your comments below with what you think. I'd love to hear what you think of this ship and, similar things you've tried or any suggestions you have, things I could have done better, because I do read your guys' comments, and I've because of some of your comments, I've looked into weapons more specifically, and I've had a lot of comments on using these engines, so I decided to use them in this build. Yeah, the build for this ship was partly because of y'all's comments, so be sure to tell me what you think below. And if you like the video, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe, follow along for more Starfield here on Dark Dally. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Catch you guys next time.